This Friday, the 12th of December. Another week nearly gone. Another week flying by, of course. 13 days left till the big day, until the man comes down the chimney, as it was, empties his sack and leaves. So look, the first thing to say is look, get into this amazing community. I will say this: we may not be the biggest, but or the smallest, but we certainly are the best. Look, if you get into the chat, I need to adjust this chat. Be respectful, of course, to each other. Be respectful to the community. Be respectful to yourselves, and be respectful to me. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out, and yeah, you will get banned. It's not something that we like to do, but I might as well just precursor that now. Second thing to say is I'm not a dictator of this chat. I do generally read out your comments. This is why these shows take so long, because I do respect opinion. We don't have to agree. I think that's the beauty of this channel, is that we don't agree, and I give you an opportunity and a platform to get your opinions out there. And I think that's what we do extremely well. Now this chair is absolutely bugging me completely. Oh, this chair is absolutely the bane of my life. So getting that sorted out. So look, one of the things I wanted to get through today was the preview. We've done this now quite a few times on this channel, and pretty much what we say on here, because we go through the games, it actually does kind of happen. I don't know why Amarin doesn't just do the same and just basically know how each team plays. Without any further ado. Scott says, yes, JB. Scott, I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. Yeah, so this is the the United versus Bournemouth preview. Getting your opinions. I want to know about your opinions about the game, score, predictions. There's talk of Shesko being back. There's talk of Maguire coming back. I don't necessarily think that Shesko will play. That's not Amarin's style, as it was. But we will get into all that good stuff. So also, what I want to know is, do you think that we're going to win? Scott says, I bet you can't wait to go away in a few days. Yes, mate. I am looking forward to it. I'm going to try and do a show from the North Pole as well. It depends on whether I'm allowed to, but no, I'm going to try to do a show from the North Pole, because I think that'd be awesome. I can't wait. The kids don't know. The kids have no idea. We're literally going to pick them up from school. We're going to drive to the airport, and they're going to have to. They're just going to have no idea. They've not been told. The missus has basically organised this, packed all the stuff. They don't know a single thing. So yeah, Scott, it's going to be awesome, my friend. And I am going to eat some reindeer. Just to be clear, I am going to eat some reindeer. So yeah, I want to know about some of the stuff that you heard. I'll go on. You fly. Yeah, we're flying from Heathrow. We're flying from Heathrow, and then we're flying into Sarasota. Good afternoon from a very wet Lincolnshire. Simon Legend of the chat, my friend. It's actually dry here, so it's not too bad in Essex. On Tuesday, we're going to be getting snow. Going to be covered in snow, because I'm off to Norway. I'm off to Lapland, so it's going to be tons and tons of snow, and hopefully I can do a show from there. Scott says it's peeing down up here. That's the north, mate, isn't it? I mean, most of the time I've been to Manchester, been up north. It's it's always peeing it down, and always bloody cold up north. But I do like the north. Yes, it's Manchester for you. I haven't actually been to Manchester in ages. Actually, I used to go to Manchester at least a couple of times every couple of months, actually. So I know the sort of city quite well, reasonably well. The train station walk is always a little bit iffy, but once you get into city centre and on the outskirts. It's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. So yeah, look, I want to know about some of the stuff that you hear. So last night, Simon said, give my regards to Santa and see if he has any decent place in his sack. Better still sign Santa in the window, give him something to do. Exactly. He's going to be bored, isn't he? He's going to I get look. There's nothing I can say that's not going to sound like some sort of bad joke. He's going to like empty his sack and and that sort of stuff. Once he's emptied his sack, he's going to be bored, isn't he? You wouldn't survive up here, mate. I don't know how I'm going to survive the North Pole, mate. I don't know. I've got my soft southern ways. I'm not as as there's nothing I can say to you, Scott, without it sounding I'm not as tough. I'm not as tough as you guys up there, I've got my southern soft ways, So yeah. So what I want to know, guys, I love being cold. I'm always red hot. Scott, I've heard that, mate. I've heard that about you, mate, that you're red hot, steamy. Southern softy, mate, I am. Santa is lazy, just will work in one day. He is, mate. He is. He's Santa. I don't know how he funds it, mate. I don't know how he funds it. I don't know how he funds his presents. I don't know. He must be paying his elves like a pittance. I would probably. He probably pays those elves less than I pay my slaves, because they don't get paid. I'm basically saying that it's a sweatshop. Basically, Santa runs a sweatshop. Mrs. Claus works all the time. If mate, she's working all, mate. Someone's got to fund it. I reckon Mrs. Claus has got some sort of like OnlyFans, where she has to make the money, right? Somehow I can't see any one of our owners as Santa like Grinch or Scrooge. It's true, and I think the show that we did last night I thought was fantastic. I thought you guys brought some fantastic things into the show last night. And again, she likes the pole. That's why she lives up North Pole, mate. She is. Eric says Manchester is blue. It is blue because it's so cold. That's why it's blue, mate, because it's absolutely freezing up north. But look, Manchester will never be blue. Simon says, I missed last night's stream. I had my hands full. Depends on what your hands were, mate. I can't, honestly, I've got a childlike brain. Anything, yeah. I'll assume it was something, children or work or Eric says, Blue Moon. Yeah, look. Eric, where are you from? Probably from Manchester. I'm a carer. See, look, that's made me feel instantaneously bad, Simon. This is why I shouldn't talk. This is why I shouldn't talk, Simon, because I now feel bad. But Simon, look, mate, as a carer, big, massive respect to you, my friend Simon. Absolute. I know it's a difficult job. My nan was a carer. Yeah. So look, mate, massive respect to you, Simon. Because it's a bloody difficult job. Eric says Los Angeles. Welcome, my friend. I mean, look, we love rival fans on here. Got no problem at all. As long as nobody. The only thing that pretty much doesn't go on here is abuse. Other than that, we don't mind the banter. As long as you don't mind banter in return. I know you're American. Americans don't really understand banter. I feel badly for you. You might be the odd one who does, but Americans don't really get our sense of humor. But look, but you're more than welcome here, my friend. Yeah, so last night's show, Simon, we were basically just talking about the Glazers Q1 result. They're basically trying to spin a positive on it. Today, I've again, I can't help but look at some of the thumbnails that are sort of out there today. Yesterday, fan channels are Q1 and the Glazers are the worst thing in the world. And then today it's all about, again, Semenyo. I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, Semenyo. People are talking about him. I mean, forget about it. We were talking about the results yesterday. I don't know where people think we're going to get this money from. Unless Ineos are going to have a change of heart, it's going to be like when Scrooge wakes up, from his dream, from past, present, and the future, and then he runs to the window and goes, "Hey boy, get me to Turkey." Now, unless Sir Jim has that, the ghost of Christmas past, present, and then runs out, opens the window, goes, "Champers, you boy, buy me champers, buy champers for everybody, boy, come on." Unless that happens with Sir Jim, it's just not going to happen. Simon says, "I just found out that we are fighting Chelsea for Siddiqui too. Shame his surname is it's not Zoksiki." I love it. Get me to Gran Canaria in March. Nice, Scott. Simon, I love that. His name should be Zoksiki. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that today as well. Bournemouth player, right? Simon, mate, I don't see how that happens. He's not going to be cheap. I've seen the Semenyo thing as well. Scott's right. So I'm going to be adamant. I'm adamant on this, and I've been adamant on this now for quite some time, my friend. And look, Simon, I hope you're right. I want you guys to be right so much. I've got to be a miserable old Scrooge. We're talking about the Q1 performances. Talking about all that last night. I don't believe the only thing that I can see that we do is like if we get a loan deal. I'm still convinced Gallagher is going to be the one that comes in. I think he'll come in on loan if Atletico Madrid don't loosen their stance on it in terms of they want to sell him. If they loosen their stance on a loan to buy, then I think so. Watch along for the game, JB. Of course, my friend. I'll be doing a watch along on Monday night. Yes, mate. I will be doing a watch along for the game. Simon says, with a name like Noah, we buy players. Simon is on it today. Simon is absolutely on it today, mate. Those are some fantastic jokes, my friend. Those are dad jokes. Those are the sort of jokes that I make that my children would eye roll completely. And before we go into the Bournemouth game, I think it's really, we were linked yesterday to Tyler What's His Chops from Bournemouth as well, Tyler Adams. We were linked to Tyler Adams. Conor Gallagher's come up again. Semenyo's back on the menu today. This is why I am refusing. I'm refusing to enter right now a transfer show, right? Because again, I get sent things all of the time. A couple of thumbnails out there. Some of the biggest channels, like yesterday, was saying, there's a transfer embargo. We're not going to make any signings, and then today they're basically saying, I think one of the headlines I saw, and I'm not going to keep mentioning channel. Today was we're going to sign these players, and I'm like, make up your fucking mind. I mean, no wonder this fan base is in a spin. Eric says, why are you hating it? I might be American, but I do love my football, real football. And Eric, mate, let me just say this for you. Eric, let me just say this for you, mate. The fact you called it football, respect. Instantaneously, Eric, the fact that you've got an American that called it football and not soccer, you've got my respect straight away. Scott says, I hate Monday Night Football. So do I. Simon says, maybe Noah's wife is called Joan. Last Noah joke. I love it. I also heard a rumor, just a rumor, that Anderson wants City. I think he does. I think he does. European football, unless we get a European football, and forget it. There's rumours that Chelsea are going to go for an Anderson as well. Chelsea have history for it. Chelsea are not scared about spending money. So Anderson, I think right now, forget it. Unless we get Champions League, I think we need to forget it, really. No hate here, lad. I was just saying, yeah, exactly. Mark, legend of the channel. Hope you're doing extremely, extremely well, my friend. So yeah, let me know about all the bullshit today. I've seen a couple of bits and pieces. Tyler Adam, Semenyo. I can't believe Semenyo. Is back on it. Prime Minute says Galatasaray 3, United 2. Thanks, mate. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks, mate. Cheers for that. Yeah, so look, I want to know what you've heard. I mean, look, I can't believe Semenyo is back on the table. I'm not entering right now unless I think it's spin, which I do think this is all spin. I'm not going to go down the transfer news because I just don't believe it. If somebody like Romano comes out, then I'll perhaps will report it. But look, I'm not going to do stuff for clicks because I just think that's an insult to you guys. I think it's an insult to me, and I'm not doing it to clicks. This channel is different, and I refuse to do stuff for clicks. So guys, you tell me. We'll come on here. We'll sort of have a little discussion on it, but none of my thumbnails are going to be clickbait. None of my thumbnails are going to be talking about this shit because but I just wanted to mention Semenyo. Again, I look, he's not coming. I just I'll be stunned. I'll be absolutely stunned, like beyond recognition, if this club does anything in this window. So pretty much that's what I'm going to say. Talk of the devil, Mark. Manchester will never be blue. City have no history. Simon says, now that Onana apparently is back in the Cameroon squad for the AFCON, does that mean we'll see a speedy return for Mbumo? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, Simon. Fingers crossed that Onana is between the sticks, and I'm hoping that Mbumo comes back extremely quick. Galatasaray is a Turkish team. I'm Turkish too. I know who Galatasaray are. Probably one of the first. When I was a young lad, Galatasaray were probably one of the first Turkish teams that I sort of heard of. So respect. Yes, within 3 games he will be back. Simon, hopefully. United always be better than City. Pep can't match Fergie's trophy haul, or he will become the best keeper in the world and keep him there for the next 42 months. Gallagher to United says Jamie Vargas 45 or 50 million. I mean, Jamie. I mean, look. I think that is far too much. I don't see it, mate. Gallagher, look. I think Gallagher would be a loan to buy. Not for 40 to 50. Not for no. I mean, no. I mean, for me, maximum I'd pay for him is 25. And is he worth 45 to 50 million? No. I mean, look, you guys may have a different opinion to me. Gallagher, for me, I think is probably worth somewhere in the region of 25 to 26 million. 40 to 50. No, that's a highly inflated price. United, I don't think would do that deal. Not at that price. But I am on I will, like Amarin with Bruno Fernandes, I will die on this hill. I think that we will get Conor Gallagher on loan. Why are we talking about Galatasaray? Is United on top of Liverpool in the standings? Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Yes, yeah, they are. Liverpool 10th. Liverpool 10th. They are 2 points behind us. So we are 6th. The world is only up, right? I watched Rashi's interview with the BBC this morning with a stupid bandana on his bonce, and he seems to be happy. Yeah, Simon, Rashford is not coming back. I know. I don't judge people that want him back, right? I get it. There are Rashford fans. I get it completely, right? But he seems happy. I got that. But the only sticking point for me is that Barcelona only want to pay like a pittance for him. They literally won him for 21 million, I think it is. Look, at that price, is it worth it? And what I mean by that is, if he comes back, you're going to have that whole trying to sell him again. I think Rashford will probably take a wage cut to go there as well. Otherwise, Rashford comes back on 300k a week, potentially up to 325k a week. There's no place for him in the squad. So I think Rashford, for me, I think he's happy. I think there has to be a monetary point where you go, look, to get his wage off of the book, I think it's almost worth it. I think it's almost worth getting at 300k. What's that a month? That's 1.2 million pounds a month. Over a course of a year, you're saving yourself quite a bit there. So I think Rashford is happy. I know Barcelona are going to try to bend us over, but I think if the money's right, I think with the profit that we'll make, there won't be lots, but with the monetary value of wages saved as well, most defence, because Liverpool keep dropping points. United will always be red. City is the little brother who just got better at playing football. I respect you, says Prime Edits. Thank you, my friend. Damn the champs are getting dethroned. Farmers League mentality. Salah situation is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Johnny Hill says, did you see Scholes' comments about Amarin? I've never agreed with an ex-player more than I did see with that video. I didn't actually. Again, I can only imagine what Scholes said. We can talk about Amarin, in my view, because look, we're going to talk about the game, right? So let's get on to the Amarin point, right? Because I think that's fair. I'm going to move away from the transfer stuff because I do want to get through the game. I do want to get through what I think we'll do, how I think Bournemouth will play as well, because we've done this now a couple of times and pretty much we've called it. So I think it's worth saying. I think people are Amarin in, Amarin out. I think that is how they are going to be until the sort of end of the season. And I think our season replicates, and let's for a second take out the glaze. Look, there's a toxicity in this club, which I will always talk about, and I would always say the Glazers out. I'll always maintain that it's the Glazers that have done this. Ineos have done this too, but let's put that to the side for now, because ultimately they're not going to play the game, right? So I think Amarin, for me, I'll go through some more of the chat, and then I'll talk about Amarin, and we can talk about the game as well. Scott says because he is homegrown, it will be pure profit. I'm looking forward to the Bournemouth match time to pick up some overripe cherries, but I would like to see what squad we are putting out. I'm just going to call you Gun. Says hi. JQ says Bournemouth, City, Arsenal, and Sunderland wins this weekend. Johnny Hill says, I think it's on the overlap. If I break it down, essentially he said Amin's approach to games and youth shows a lack of understanding of what United represent. And Johnny, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Eric, I have a song for you. So look, and let's get into that as well. So I think the first thing to say, and I'm gonna move away from the Glazers and Ineos for the subject, even though in my view it's their fault. I am Amarin in right now, and I'd probably more say I am manager in, right? And what I think Amarin in, Amarin out means different things to different people, right? I am manager in and therefore Amarin in for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've maintained this. These are not his players. They finished 15th last season and they are not his players. Ineos brought in a manager that's played a different system to what we ever played. Amarin came into the squad, and I do think that Amarin had no idea what he was coming into. Also, these players. I can't stand these players. I absolutely cannot stand these players. Yes, these you can argue these players are playing out of position. I can't stand these players. However, I fully acknowledge, and I've said this myself, I think Amarin is, I think he's weak. I think he's learning on the job. I don't think he really understands the Premier League. I don't think he understands this club, really. I think he's playing survival football. I also don't think he's been backed. So I think right now, if we take the Ineos and the Glazers bit out, I would say that the split between the two for me is 70% players and 30% him. Now, Amarin, and I'm a logical person, and I'd like to think that I'm fair. I'm not completely blinded. I'm not blinded by Amarin in, and I would say I'm more manager in. And what that means to me from a personal perspective is that I want to do something different. I don't believe right this second that anybody else is going to come into the squad this season, particularly in this window where we're not going to do anything at all. I don't see what bringing in another coach is going to do. Now, Amarin has almost set up this team the way that he wanted to play. There's no coach right now that can come into the squad. Imagine if you get a coach that plays a 4-3-3. We don't have the players to play the system. So, I want us to do something different. I want us to back a coach. And then if I anticipate, I think we finish somewhere between 8th and 10th. If we finish 10th, then maybe at that point we go, if we don't improve, if more so for me, if Ineos are not going to back him, sack him. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable for a number of reasons. I just think right now for me the split is 70-30. But the more that Amarin continues, and I'm looking forward to the presser today, which probably starts actually, or probably just finish now. And I will come back on tonight and I will talk about that. Is for me, Amarin needs to stop talking crap. He says the same thing every single conference, and he basically keeps talking about his players know that they need to improve. I mean, look, we are 13, 14 games in now to the season. What's going on? So I think it's and we go through this because I do like to go through the tactics because we've then said how they're going to play, and it's interesting to see what Amarin does. Jay says, Semenyo will see your defence and then some. Look, Jay, mate, I don't disagree with you. I do not disagree. United is finished, says King. Well, that's funny, King, because we're sixth in the league. So as much as I will say I don't think that we will, for a club that's finished, Johnny Hill says the biggest issue I have with Amarin's system as well is the top quality players do not want to join the type of system, aka wingers and wingbacks. Exactly, King, you support Spurs. Like I imagine telling Semenyo to join us to play left wing back. United will get back to its roots. It's just a major hiccup that will lead to long-term success. And look, Eric, my friend, I think I would love you to be right. I would love you to be right, my friend. And look, I love the fact that a City fan is, being very positive, which I appreciate. Mate, our toxicity, it's almost like when you've got an apple and then you've got like a brown bit on top, and then you slice it open and then it's rotten to the core. Mate, the only two ways that we're going to really get back to the top, and I don't mean we'll never get back to the top, as in, the way that we were, is the Glazers and Ineos either pull their fingers out of their arse and invest some money into this club, or find a way to invest money into this club, or they sell it. So, mate, I would love that to be right, but I think unless we are lucky, unless by some luck we can do something on a budget, I don't see it, mate. And now Spurs are finished, but Spurs are finished as well. Still better than United. We won't finish 10th. He definitely supports Chelsea. Hey, United fan, says Leo. Hello, my friend. Kin says, no, just trolling. I like United, and this guy is nice dude. It seems like Kin. Thanks, mate. Look, I appreciate it. Look, we don't mind your troll. We don't mind the banter, Kin. As long as you don't mind the banter back, look, we have no problem. We have no issue on here. I appreciate the banter. No issue from me, my friend. Day 400 plus of not cutting my hair until Man City win 5 games in a row. It's hard. Why is Shesko so washed? Just saying. And Leo, look, Leo, it's interesting, like people's opinions. Like, the reason why I'm not going to disrespect that opinion at all, my friend, because I think people are entitled to their opinion, right? I think it's too early. Leo, I think it's too early. I think as fans, but where I will agree with you is the price tag. The price tag is extremely high. I think for that price tag, you do expect instantaneous results. But I think in Shesko's case, we are paying for the potential, right? Look, he's had an injury. He's played 11 games. I don't think he's washed. I mean, I would disagree. I think he needs to be given. I think he needs to be given, and I know this is not comfortable with some people. I think he needs to be given 2 years. I think what I'd like to see is him given this season to acclimatise. You give him 6 months next season, and then when you then come to that sort of back end of next season, then he's at 18 months, and then at that point you can sort of go, look, maybe he isn't the guy, but I think we need to give him time. Are you a fan of United? I think that you are crazy, mate. I've been supporting this club since 1988. I'm never going to jump ship. I've supported this club since I was 4. This club predates my wife. Sorry, my wives. This club predates most things. So, Kin says, I feel bad. No, mate. Kin, you don't need to feel bad. Look, as long as banter is good, my friend, nobody needs to apologise at all. Barcelona, so I feel for you. Look, no need to. You gave him sex moths. Did I? Shesko, Niche fan says Shesko is a flop as far as I'm concerned. Let's pray that his injury is recurring. We'd be lucky to get 30 for him. What made would have been perfect. Look, and again, Niche fan, my friend, it's really interesting that people's opinions already. That's what you said, sex moths. I think it's my accent. I'll give him 6 months. I won't give him any sex moths because I don't think that they exist. But you never know. But yeah, just to be clear, thanks Scott. Is I give him 6 months. It's the Essex accent. I think United need a new midfield player. Leo, mate, we need 2. I think we need 2. I think we need 2 midfielders. I think we need another striker. Shesko definitely needs some sex moths. I'd argue wing backs as well. Just MD says, what is your take on Mainu? Amrin wants him out, mate. I think Amrin wants him out. As I've said a couple of times on here, I think it is we've let him down. I do, as much as if you're looking at the menu now, I think people tend to look at the current state, which is correct, because football is a results business. Football is the here and now. And if you're looking at menu now, people may go, Amrin was right, but I think you have to, for our youth players, I think you have to give them leeway. And for me, we've failed Mainu. I don't think the fans have. I think this club, how can you have this young guy that comes through, gets to a Euros final with England, held his place down, was a fantastic player, and then we've just let him down. I think this needs to be studied on how we are so bad at developing players and why we are so bad at giving a environment for young players to thrive. I think we've let Mainu down. I think it's a travesty. I think the club should hang their head in shame. Amrin doesn't want him. I'd say let him go on loan. Can't call Shesko a flop. Big Dog says Niche, he's United through and through. He plays for the Geordies. Niche, the Shesko hater, give the lad a chance. Look, Niche, mate, I look, people have their opinions, right? And I get it. But I think we need to give this young lad time. I really, really do. I really, really do. I get it. People have their opinions. People are short term, people are long term. People think in the different way. And look, this is a channel where we give people their say. But I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I'll offer a different opinion on it. Is that is this not what's wrong with this club? We're talking about a Mainu who's a young guy. Shesko's only 22, 23 years old, right? He's another young kid. He's another young guy. Shouldn't we be protecting these young players? Leo says, how you feel about the starting 11? I can't stand these players, man. I can't stand them. I cannot abide these players. For me, it doesn't matter. There are some players in this squad like Shesko, Cunha, etc., Ahmad, who get a pass because they're actually trying. But other than that, I can't stand these players. Niche fan says, I understand about giving Shesko time. I just wanted an instant impact for the money we spent, like in Boomer has provided instant. And Niche, I get that, mate. I absolutely respect that opinion. And I almost concur with with the fact that when you pay large amounts of money for a player, there's two options. Number one, you pay large amounts of money. You look at Isak, right? The reason why they paid that amount of money, because he's Premier League proven. The reason why we bought Shesko and paid that price is because we're paying for potential. So I think there are two ways to look at when you spend big on a player. One is for instant impact, and one is you're taking a risk and you're saying, look, we're going to pay for potential. Also, we missed out on our top targets. Each fan says, here's the question: would you rather have Shesko or Waltmade? Waltermada. I would rather Shesko. I would. I'm not going to lie. I think Shesko for me is the one. Manu is arrogant. He thought he was all that after the Euros. What's the agenda for today? Look, I'm going to quickly go through the Bournemouth game and what basically I think is going to happen. Simon says, Scott says, if we had players what crossed the ball and played it like Shesko's feet would be dangerous. I agree with you. My squad is Lemens, Maz, Yoro, Shaw, Ahmad, Casemiro, Bruno, Dalot, Mbumo, Mount, and Cunha, a 3-4-2-1. Usman says, would you swap Cunha for Semenyo? Don't compare the player. Think about what United need. No, because Semenyo, I think, is more of a wide player. I think there's a difference between what we need and what we'll do. And I think if you're talking about what we need, I think Cunha is suffering from Bruno Fernandes being there, because Cunha picks up the ball and carries the ball from the basically the 8 or 10 position and carries the ball. I think that would I take Semenyo rather than a Cunha? That is a good question. That's a good question. My honest answer is I don't know. I think if we played a 4-3-3, yes. But I think in this Amorim system, I think I'd have to take Cunha. So look, let's go through the game stats. Let's go through the Bournemouth stats, and then I will give you my opinion. David says, well, what needs to happen? And Wolves, two different things. Wolves was a walkover game and a draw would be a very good result. But David, my friend, like I was saying before, right? These wins now are must-win games because if we'd have beaten Everton and West Ham, these games now, you could almost go, look, Bournemouth, we should win the game, but it's not the end of the world if we didn't. If we lost to Villa, and Villa haven't lost at home in 30-odd games, Newcastle are if we'd have come out of those 3 games with 4 points, fine. But because we lost to the Toffees at home, because we drew West Ham, these are now must-win games. So look, let's go through Bournemouth, what they are, and the tactics, etc. So Bournemouth are a mid-table team with competitive record, wins, draws. They are a tough team to beat. So let's just put that out there. They are a very, very tough team to beat. So their expected goals, XG, are 20.8 so far. Bournemouth are creating good chances this season. They also have 53% possession and like control of the ball. Iviola often plays either a 4-2-3-1 or 4-1-4-1 hybrid. Basically, he's pressing and direct in his transitions. So basically, they love to press. They're a pressing fit team, and basically they just get the ball from A to B, which fits down with they get the ball down the wings, which again I think they'll do. I think they'll attack the space between the centre back and the wing back. I think Luke Shaw plays, and I think Luke Shaw is going to have a horrid time. I think a Dalot and Luke Shaw will play down that side, and I think we're going to see a very, very Forest performance. I think we're going to struggle down that side. They are aggressive. They press. They turn over the ball extremely well. Bournemouth are really ranked high for pressure and the turnovers. So Bournemouth are going to come and Bournemouth are going to be aggressive. Now we at some point like to be aggressive and try to win that ball high, but what you are going to see is Bournemouth who are aggressive. They are one of the top teams for pressuring teams and turning. They try to force opponents into mistakes and go on the counter. Honestly, mate. See, now that's the sort of banter that gets you banned, mate. So, what we are going to see is we're going to see possession based. We're going to see, no messing with passes. We're going to see pressure. We're going to see the transitions are going to be extremely fast. They're going to. I think they will, Scott. I do, but I think what they'll do is I think they're very, very good at. I think they might play a mid to a low block. I think that their whole tactic will be low block counter, and they've got the players. I think their midfield will press. I think they'll press hard, but it depends, Scott. I think it depends. I think it completely depends if they think that they can get a result. I think if they come to us and they go, F it, we're just going to basically go on the attack, they may do, or they may go and look at that low block that we can't, break and counter. So I think what we are going to play, or what we will see, is if they do play a low block, I think they're still going to counter, and I think they're very, very good on the counter. Their goals percentage is 1.6 goals per game, so I think they're going to score. If he can get 10 to 15 goals this season, I class that as a good first season for Shesko. I agree. Bournemouth will score. The combination of we concede goals, I think Bournemouth will score. I think that's pretty much a cemented on. I think their goal creation, good offensive output, and one of the things that they do, and I think we need to be careful of, is they've got tricky players, the dribbles, wingers, and they like to cross the ball into the box. So I think what we are going to see is we're going to see a high pressing, hard working, possibly mid to low block players who are going to basically our wing backs. I think are going to struggle. I think Semenyo is going to be an issue, and they like to cross balls into the box. It's pretty much going to be rinse and repeat of what we've seen all teams do to us. Is they're going to attack down the low and short side, and they're going to whip crosses into the box. Now, who are the key players to watch? Obviously, Semenyo. Semenyo is going to want to prove a point, and I think that we need to be very, very careful. So, as we said before, Bournemouth right now are known for aggressive front foot pressing. Their goal basically is to make chaos. Bournemouth's style of play is basically create chaos, and I think that we'll feed into that. I think the way that we play, I think that what we're going to see is I think that they're going to cause chaos. I think they'll cause confusion. I think that, and I'm going to say it, I think that pivot is going to struggle. I really worry about those two in the midfield position. I think with the pace that Bournemouth have, I think Luke Shaw's going to struggle. I think Casemiro is going to struggle. I think the physicality, if Ahmad plays, is going to be too much for him. Bruno, I think, will run around like a headless chicken. I think what we are going to see is we're going to see pressing traps. I think we're going to see those pressing traps on the centre backs, namely Luke Shaw, namely Casemiro. I think that what we are going to see is I don't think they're going to be scared to put the ball long and into feet. I think that they're going to be very, very good at winning second balls. And what do I think the impacts of that are going to be? I basically think that is going to force the centre backs to split. I think what we might see is that I think we'll be at home, and I think Amrin will be forced into a defensive formation. I think the wing backs are going to split. I think Casemiro is going to have to play deep. Bruno Fernandes, in my view, every time he comes back in that position, I don't think he offers anything. And I think they're going to try to push. They're going to push the wing backs. And I think one of the things that we will see is I think that Bournemouth will absolutely press the pivot. I think the pivot is going to be a disaster. I think they're absolutely going to press it, and I think they're going to target Luke Shaw. I think they'll target that Luke Shaw position. I think they'll target that side, and I just think that Bruno Fernandes is going to struggle. I do. One of the things to also say as well, and again, this is important to think about this. Jamie says we could switch to a 4-4-2. Amrin won't do that. Amrin will not do that, my friend. I don't think he will. I think in terms of how they play again, they just love to attack. They're a very quick attacking team. What they do is they forward pass. They just pass it forward, and they try to consistently win that first ball. They like to regain possession as fast as they can. So what we're going to see is if United doesn't start fast, Bournemouth will start fast. I think Bournemouth will absolutely come out of the traps. I think wingers are going to be. I think the wingers are going to pose us a problem. I think they'll overload those flanks, and I think they'll transition fast. I think this could be an absolutely abject disaster. I think, as we said before, I think because of the sort of high defensive line with those wing backs, and Jamie, I agree. I think it's going to be a very, very high octane, just chaos. I think Bournemouth are going to come and cause chaos, and I think our downfall, if these players are not switched on, are going to be. And Simon, I'll give you my opinion on that as well. Bournemouth do like to overload on wide areas, and that for me is going to be the area where I'm most concerned about, those wing backs and those wides. And I think Bournemouth are going to have absolute joy in those wings, and they're basically going to put a bunch of crosses in. I think that Bournemouth are quite a physical team as well. I think we're quite a small team. The midfield pivot. Let me tell you what I think is going to happen. That midfield are pressers, energy. They're ball winners. They late run it into the box as well. I think our pivot is going. If Amarin doesn't plug that pivot, we're going to get absolutely annihilated in that pivot. I think we'll get absolutely destroyed. I think that their players are going to come and press. I think our pivot is going to be ineffective, and I think that may force Amarin into a defensive position again at home. I think we are going to be forced backwards. I don't think that we're going to be able to play the ball to the midfield. I think that they'll just pass through us. I also think that we're going to struggle to basically control the tempo of the game because of the nature of the pressing types of both teams. I think it's going to be a very, very chaotic, even game. Bournemouth as well are dangerous at corners, set pieces as well. They are well drilled. They play in zones, and I think they're very, 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 very physical as well. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about we could go on and on and on about the same things, but I think what is important to say on this is we're gonna have a very, very difficult game. Amarin is not going to change. This game calls for physically high presses. I think the low will play. Whatever I think about him, I think he'll play, and I think he'll struggle. I think he'll play down the Luke Shaw side. I'm not expecting Amarin to do anything different here, and that is my problem. We may get surprised here, but I don't think. And Simon, I agree. I am worried about this game. I'm really, really concerned. John O'Connor says, could the takeover now happen because we are 1.2 billion in debt? Let me read the chats, John, and then I'll come back to that one. Let's have a little look at what you guys are saying. Simon says, I can't see it being a high-scoring game, maybe a cheeky 2-1. Scott says 3-1 to United. Mount in Bournemouth Cunha. I'm not going to predict the score because I'll jinx it. Jamie Vargas says 2-2. I think it will be 3-2 to us. We've got Mbeumo, Ahmad and Managerial. I saw a prediction from the BBC Football website, and a win for Bournemouth was forecast. The low will fly is a fly in the ointment. He plays and will concede. I hope we will either see Semenyo or Martinez sometime in the second half. Semenyo will come on, mate, but I don't see what he's going to do. Jamie says I'd switch to a 4-4-2. I would play Martinez from the start with Yoro and De Ligt. I think De Ligt is injured. High octane football for Bournemouth. I do agree. This could be a banana skin. We need to be winning the second balls and pushing up with a high line, but that leaves us open for a counter attack. And that's how Bournemouth play. This match won't be a bowl of cherries. David says a formation which would crack Bournemouth is a 3-2-3-2. And what needs to be worked on for you guys is set pieces in attacking wise. That's in my view as a neutral. Lamens will be kept busy. I agree with you. I dread every minute that Delow is on. Could a takeover happen now? I will come back to that. I can't believe people are saying it's going to be a hard game. That's what the Glazers have done to us. We should be winning at home against Bournemouth. I agree with you, Mark. I'll come back up to that. I have got the new black top for Christmas, says John. Nice one. I got it for £70 on the website on Black Friday. Mark, I agree with you. There should be no excuses, Mark. There should be no excuses. I will keep saying this until I'm blue in the face, until I'm an old man. I demand this club win the league, and we win a trophy. We get into the Champions League every single season. That are the standards that I grew up with. Those are the standards that I know should be adhered to. And I'm talking about Liverpool, I'm talking about Arsenal, talking about Chelsea, but we're a different club. People don't get it. People don't get it. I think younger fans, I think people who are not fans of the club misconstrue what I'm saying here. It's not arrogance. I don't think that we're better than any team. Those are just the standards that I have to have for this club. I'm not stupid. We're never going to do it. We're not going to win a trophy. We're far away from a league. The best a man can get, or the best this team can get from me, is right now finishing in the Champions League. So those are my standards, right? And Mark is absolutely spot on. The Glazers have lowered, and Ineos now have lowered the standards of this club, have lowered this club to a point whereby we're seriously talking about Bournemouth as a banana skin. Now, every game is, but they've got us so low to a point whereby we are actually contemplating that Bournemouth are going to come to beat us. But it's true. The sad state of affairs is I actually demand a win. Anything other than a win is a failure. And I'm not disrespecting Bournemouth. They're a fantastic side. The fact that everything that I've said is pointing towards, I am talking about Bournemouth in terms of I really do think that they're going to pose us an issue. And Mark's right. You know, what a sad state of affairs that we can't. We're to a point where Everton came to our house and beat us 1-0 with 10 men. Disgusting. West Ham, we drew. We had nothing and we drew. Bournemouth is a must-win game. And I know every game is, but look, this Bournemouth game, look, every game we say it. This fucking Bournemouth game, these players and this manager need to figure it out. I don't care. They need to figure this shit out. You know, Amarin will come out again with his team, and he'll come out today in the conference, which I'll watch in a bit, and he'll come out with his shit of these players know that they need to learn. Look, I am manager in because I don't want to see a manager sacked, but I'm also getting a little bit tired. Amarin, look, mate, I don't give a shit. Find a way to beat this team. Find a fucking way to beat teams. You know, I know it's difficult. You know, I have sympathy for you that this team is a pile of dog shit. I can't stand these players. You've got to be a coach. You've got to find a way to win these games. You've got to find a way to win these home games. I don't want to hear an excuse. I don't want to hear about control of games. I don't want to see defensive moves when we're at home. We want to see attacking football at home. You know, away from home, different view. You know, I get it. Away from home is different, but at home, I don't want to see any more defensive moves. However, if that's what we've got to do to win, Amarin, I want to see something different. We're not going to look, and we've just been through the game. We've just been through the game, and we've spoken about what Bournemouth will do. We've done this 6 or 7 games now. Let's see if we're right. Let's see if Amarin, with all his wisdom, with all of his badges between us all, a couple of us have. None of us have got a badge to say that we've coached. Yet we call these games every single week. We call what will happen, but yet a manager with a bunch of badges can't do and basically can't counter something that we all know that will happen. John, I will come back to you, my friend. You already there, JB, old man, mate. I am. I am. Okay, Tom, to do my carriage duties, we'll catch you in a bit. Simon, legend, my friend, should have a Christmas tree behind. I should do. I keep meaning to put a Christmas tree up. I'm a miserable old git. Hey, man, how are you? I'm doing extremely well, my friend. Plus, what's the topic for today? We've been through the Bournemouth game. JB's festive. Mate, it's true. If we'd have beaten Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, we'd have been a point behind Arsenal. And John, you know, it's true. Could you agree Moyes lowered the standards of United when he came in and got rid of the backroom staff? That was the stupid thing to do and had it made for him. I don't think he lowered the standards, mate. I'm not going to lay that at Moyes' door at all. I don't think that's fair. I think the standards of this club have been lowered over the last 20 odd years. I don't agree that David Moyes lowered the standards. Where I tell you where David Moyes went wrong was accepting the job. How can you tell title-winning players how to win a title when you've never done it, mate? It was just the wrong appointment. Fergie, I don't know if it was done on purpose or not, but how can you, as a manager, command respect of multiple Premier League winning players, Champions League winning players? How can you tell them how to play in the Champions League? How can you tell them to win stuff when you've never won anything yourself? That was his problem. We understand now he's going to Lapland. It's true. I think the Bournemouth game will be a tough one, especially with that Šeško, and I hope De Ligt returns. Was Erik ten Hag the best trainer that United ever had? No, because I don't think that we were fit. I don't think that we were. We need to bring in Ramos, who'll stop us conceding. Ineos had to sack staff to make a profit. That's not right. I do agree. We need to sign Ronaldo again. Disagree. No cutting my hair until you win 5 games in a row. You're going to have some long hair, mate. We need a new goalkeeper. Maybe. And we'll be good if we get Cristiano again. Come on, mate. Come on. Happy holidays, JB, to you and your family. Back at you, Jamie. I hope you're going to have a really nice Christmas and Thanksgiving as well. We need a new stadium. We ruined Sancho. I disagree wholeheartedly on that one. I disagree. Sancho ruined himself. We did everything that we could for Sancho. I think that we give Sancho... Look, we even give Sancho a couple of months off. Sancho, for me, is one lazy arsehole. I think we pay him a lot of money. Look, we say that we ruined Sancho. Sancho destroyed himself. We ruined the last 5 trainers. We ruined him. Look, mate, that's your opinion. What have Ineos done since they've been here? Well, John, they've messed us up. United is a graveyard for trainers and players. Really United too. I'm not going to disagree with that. We ruined a prime Lingard and Greenwood and Sancho. Come on, Reg, mate. I think you're look. If you really believe that, this is your view to have your opinion. I'm not going to disrespect your opinion. That's your view. Lingard was never prime. Greenwood destroyed his own career, and Sancho is lazy. We need to buy Weghorst. We should have signed Benzi. I support the Red Devils. Callum, legend, my friend. Bear says, I remember when United was dominant, and now it just feels like they never have all the pieces. I agree with you, mate. I've been supporting this club since 1988. Jamie says, Patrice Evra will be in Dallas this week. Looking forward to that. Mate, make sure that you go see him. XF54 says, why footballers weak and soft? They whine like a little twat. I agree with you. Mason Greenwood came to us, then got allegations. No, Mason Greenwood didn't come to us. Mason Greenwood was part of the academy. It's true about the allegations, but we all heard and we all saw. So whilst Greenwood is technically, he's legally innocent, we all heard and we all saw. And look, Reg, if you're comfortable with that, my friend, I'm not going to go into it. But if you're comfortable, my friend, look, I'm not going to get into a debate. All I'm going to say is this: I've got 3 girls, right? So I am biased on it. So all I'm going to say on it is this: if that happened to one of my girls, Greenwood would never be playing professional football again. So you now know how I feel. We need Ferguson if he was still in charge. Ref says fair. We should sign Vardy. Do you know what? If we'd have signed Vardy as a second striker to help, I wouldn't have been against that. John says you need to set up a YouTube channel, JB. I'd watch. This is a channel, my friend. I only do these in this format because this seems to work really well for the channel. But this is a channel. This is not just a live. This is a channel. The only reason why I do it this way because it's basically convenient for me, and basically it gets more views. So this style for me and for this channel right now is basically the best way to do it. But I will be doing a different sort of style soon. I'm right, but did we make 13 quarter loss profit? Q1 we made 6.4 million. Should we brief? Come on, Wave Cutter. The best team 2008, Cristiano. Will United ever be successful again? Possibly. It's going to be difficult. When you say successful, how do you measure it? Do you measure it in trophies? Do you measure it in winning the league? Do you measure it in finishing the Champions League? Because I think the Glazers' view of being successful is a different view than ours. There were some rumours about Elise, and now he's bailing out of Bayern. No. I disagree with that. I'm back. I disagree with that. Elise is not going to bail out of us. He's not going to bail out at all. Only because we sacked staff and we made and that's why we made 13 million. Nope. I went through the Q1 results, and we saved 6 million in wages. I mean, look, the figures. Look, I can give you the sort of. I gave you the figures on yesterday's stream. They don't make sense to me on the basis of the money that we saved on Rashford and Sancho, the people that we sacked. It doesn't make sense on the Q1 results, but maybe it will in Q2. It really does depend on when they decide to put those figures into the results. Van der Sar was the best keeper ever. Rudy, disagree. Schmeichel for me. Anthony, no, we don't need that. Who do you think? Where do you think we'll finish this season? I've said I think we'll finish between 8th and 10th. Max says hi, hello my friend. Is that the away kit of 22? I believe it is. Not willing to go in. What do you think of United best team 2020 onwards? I mean, I think we've been a bag of shit. I don't think that we've been particularly good, mate. I mean, we need Pogba. Max says, what do you think about Reading or Wolves? Look, Reading under the Majeski Stadium. I remember when Reading came back up into the Premier League with Leroy Lita, Kitson, and all those sorts of stuff. Look, Wolves, I've got maximum respect for Wolves. Wolves, I remember watching Wolves when Steve Ball played for them. Wolves, and also I actually respect Wolves. I actually really respect what Wolves are doing this season. I respect the Wolves fans. I don't like the owners of Wolves, but I tell you what the Wolves fans are doing, I absolutely respect it. We're doing well in the Premier League. Maybe. So look, it's interesting. Look, I think that, and I'll come on to the presser tonight. I will come back and I will do a show tonight again, and we'll go over the presser for that one. Good to see someone who likes Wolves. Callum, and I will give you my reasons, right? We are 6th. Agreed, completely. But look, we've got to maintain that. We've not played well at all. Wolves, we were shit in the first half, and then Wolves just capitulated. Wolves have got 2 points all season. And Callum, look, my friend, you are accurate in terms of the numbers, but we have been dog all season. We've had 3 good games potentially. We've been awful. So the only thing I'm going to say on this is, look, I think we will. I'll come on tonight. Nick Rusi says, hi JB, hello my friend. I'll be back this evening. I think that we need to be careful. I think I'll go over the Amarin presser tonight as well. And yeah. So look, guys, I've got to go. Legends, all thank you for being here today. I will be back this evening with the presser, and we'll do a late show as well, and we'll talk about all that stuff then. But look, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being legends of this channel. I really do appreciate it. And again, really good conversation. So look, we've gone through the game. We've gone and Callum, I absolutely respect that, my friend. I really hope that you're spot on. I'd love you to be right, and hopefully we can finish 5th, but I still think that we finish between 8th and 10th. Look, Jamie Vargas, mate, legend. Love you too, brother. I appreciate you. I really do. Jamie, absolutely, you've been a legend of this channel for some time now, friend, and I appreciate the love, and it's back at you, my friend. Max says, mate, legend, Max. Thank you. But guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. You make this channel fantastic. Without you guys, this channel doesn't exist, and I'll never forget that. So look, I'll be back this evening with a late night show again, and we'll talk about Amarin stuff on there as well, and anything else that comes out. So bring your chat this evening. Bring whatever you say. The late night show is a different show. Scott is a legend of the channel. Mark, Bobby, Scott, Nikarutsu, legend. So Callum, I'll probably be back about 10ish tonight, between 10 and 10:30. Yeah, Scott, mate. No, Scott, I'll never forget about you, my friend. You know, Scott, absolute legend. But yeah, guys, you all legends. Yeah, Bobby as well. That's why Bobby. That's why I mentioned you. Wavecutter says I'm a legend. Look, all of you are. There's so many of you now. I used to read out every single name. I can't read out every single name now. But Wavecutter, mate, you're a legend. Anybody else that I forgot, but look, you interact with me. You interact on this channel. You guys are a bunch of legends. Yeah, I can't thank you enough, and that goes to everybody. You guys are amazing. Alex, mate, all we're going to say, Alex, is that I'm just going to give you one of those, Alex. Simple as that, my friend. Simple as that. I'll see you very soon. So look, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.